Number 10. Jared Leto. While Jared Leto's version of the Joker in Suicide Squad may not have been the most well received, the fact remains that Jared Leto is widely regarded to be a pretty attractive man. His version of the Joker came off as being a very manic millennial gangster and was for most a little too manic. But Leto's Joker should get some bonus points for giving us a very tattooed up version of this villain. At the very least, to most, tattoos are considered pretty sexy, and fans of Jared Leto likely still can't see him as anything but the lovable, somewhat of a jerk, illiterate teen heartthrob that was Jordan Catalano. Jordan Catalano, although pretty terrible, was pretty baby. Number 9. Jokester. This version of Joker comes to us from Earth 3. He is actually a good guy, which is part of what adds to his appeal. This version of the Joker was known by the name Jackie. He was an underdog and struggling comedian who stood up to the corrupt vigilante Owlman. Taking a stand against Owlman, who Jackie actually knew to be a murderer, he made him the target of the jokes in his comedy act. The police and people of Gotham saw Jackie as a sort of hero for standing up to Owlman, but his heroism came at a cost. Owlman got revenge by giving Jackie a Glasgow smile and killing his manager Harley Quinn. This drove Jackie insane, making him only have eyes for destroying Owlman and his sidekick Talon. Number 8. DC Bombshells. In the world of DC Bombshells, Joker is often referred to by Harley as Mr. J. Mr. J was Harley's ex-lover who Harley left after she felt he was changing for the worse due to alcoholism and an obsession with potions. For this, however, the two were very happy together, surviving the Great Depression through becoming thieves. Sort of a Bonnie and Clyde type vibe. They took from the rich and even sometimes helped out others with the wealth that they stole. And it's for this less harmful and more originally lovable side of this alternate that we can consider him somewhat hot.
Number 7. Scandal Savage, a recent addition. She first debuted in Villains United #1 in 2005, created for the supervillain team The Secret Six. She's the daughter of Vandal Savage and some Brazilian woman, and she's a lesbian. I'm not just bringing that up to bring it up. Her creator Gail Simone brings it up all the time. And in 2005, it was a big deal. She has the deadly skill set, the costume with the crop top, making it fashionable for this era, the cleavage, the peekaboo mask. Scandal was an interesting character. The whole Secret Six was a fun comic that brought out the best in its characters. It gave the world a credible Catman again, and a cool Deadshot. It was going places, but it was sadly swallowed up by the New 52 reboot, and Scandal kind of fell by the wayside. Gail Simone got swept up to write Batgirl and retconned her legs, which she was long salty about, then moved on. Scandal, easily collectible in a few trades.
Number 6. All-Star Joker. The Joker of Earth 31 from All-Star Batman and Robin and The Dark Knight Returns is just super jacked. What's even crazier is later on in his story when we see him, this version of the Joker is meant to be in his 50s, and yet he still looks super ripped. This version of the Joker also has a giant dragon tattoo on his back that extends onto his bicep. What can I say? I'm a sucker for some nice tattoos. And while this Joker is still positively insane, although he might have you believe otherwise, and evil, he still somehow manages to appear to be in great shape physically.
Number 5. Silver Sable. She first debuted in The Amazing Spider-Man #265 back in 1985. She is not Black Cat. Sometimes people mix the two up because they both have white hair and they just assume that somebody got a costume change. No. Now she can be an anti-hero, but is most often a bit more on the villain side. Do you like the 80s? Do you like headbands? Do you like a woman who shoots first and asks questions later as long as you're not the one being shot? Then get excited. Silver Sable actually has an annual diplomatic dinner with Dr. Doom. Their nations border each other. Hers is Symkaria. She does all that she does with no superpowers. She hunts Nazis but will also kill for money. She was inspired by a pack of safari cards that the editor Tom DeFalco bought, so her team was called the Wild Pack. She was popular enough for a time to be adapted into the 90s animated Spider-Man series, but over time she's kind of faded. We have other hot lady mercenaries, but you needed to know about Silver Sable. You're welcome.
Number 4. Harleen. I can't say this enough. If you have not read this book, you really need to read it. It really is a great dive into how Harley got pulled in by the dark and twisted villain that is the Joker, by this obsession with fixing him and then just kind of accepting him for the truly broken person and vile criminal that he is. The attraction to Joker in this book is how he's drawn. He's definitely more handsome than usual, but psychologically it's all about that draw to the dark, broken side of people and of ourselves, and the rush of adrenaline we feel both when we are falling in love, but also when we are in danger, and how being addicted to that rush can actually blur the lines between those two very different experiences. The Joker is still evil here, he's still a bad guy, but you can see why Dr. HARLEEN Quinzel falls for him. It's still very alarming, but it's also kind of hot. Number 3, 2015 Secret Wars Selene. In the reality of the 2015 Secret Wars, Earth 19947, Selene is allied once more with Sebastian Shaw, and is also part of God Emperor Doom's court. She only appears briefly in issue 2 of Secret Wars, but I love her look here. Also, the artwork, which is Asad Rabish, the same artist as the one for the Loki series where the alternate Hela I mentioned appears. It is very classic Selene, her appearance here. Her wardrobe here is very classic Selene, much like Madeline Pryor's is also, and a look we haven't really seen Selene return to recently. This look is her in a corseted top with a black headband and cape. Black queen, so of course all black everything. One can assume she also might be wearing thigh-high black lace-up boots, and she also wears long black gloves and a black thong. Selene is the epitome of power and sexiness. I also just love her in a cape. I love everyone in a cape. Cape and thigh-high boots for everybody. Number 2, Bianca Steeplechase. This version of the Joker comes to us from the Thrill Killer series, the alternate Earth 37. In this reality, Joker is a woman and a criminal known as Bianca Steeplechase. While still being quite evil, this version of the Joker seems to be much kinder to her Harley Quinn, has striking green eyes that are much more alluring than the main continuity's green peepers, and loves to wear low-cut or dramatically unbuttoned shirts. Once you see this version of the Joker, you'll never look at the main continuity one the same way again. Number 1, Gotham. In Gotham, we have 2 Jokers, twin brothers known as Jeremiah and Jerome Velasca. Originally, it seemed that the deranged and evil brother Jerome was set up to become the Joker in the show. Jeremiah had escaped his brother and run off to the circus, changing his name to hide from him. He claimed that Jeremiah had tortured and tormented him when they were both children, but in the end, it was revealed that this may have been less than true. After his brother's death, Jeremiah was exposed to laughing venom that unleashed his own inner madness, and allowed him to begin his own transformation into the Joker. Since then, Jeremiah has been exposed to that famous vat of Ace chemicals, which left him severely disfigured and scarred. But prior to this change in his appearance, both he and his identical brother were fairly handsome, and originally appeared to be the most attractive live-action depiction of the Joker we've seen yet. Both characters are of course played by the same actor on Gotham, the talented Cameron Monaghan.
Number 10, Malice. From Marvel, there are multiple characters who have held this name. The first 2 Malices were Black Panther villains attached to Killmonger, but the version I'm going with is Sue Storm's evil split personality. Sue Storm is the 4th incarnation of Malice, the 3rd was a Ghost Rider villain. So Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, was manipulated by the Psycho Man into having the negative aspects of her personality manifest. You know, the bitterness of the years of neglect from Reed, and also her miscarriage. At the time, her second child, that pregnancy had not come to fruition. This would be later semi-retcon and they would succeed in having a second child, though it would be difficult, and this would be Valeria. However, Sue was very hurt by all the things that were going on. Slowly, she began to change. Her powers were upped, and she began to use them more offensively. She also changed her name from the Invisible Girl to the Invisible Woman. She also got a sexier costume, and well, the people weren't having it because she was a mom after all, and moms aren't allowed to be sexy. Marvel is a no-MILF zone, or rather, tasteful MILFs. Honestly, part of the Malice explanation came in response to her costume. A boob window, cleavage at all? A lot of this could have been explained as her anger and her grief, but no. Also, Reed slapped her across the face after playing into her insecurities that he is well aware of, but at the time was just choosing not to be a better husband. This is to snap her out of it. Now, Sue Storm is attractive no matter what, but Malice had all that evil going on. Sue still fights her in her subconscious sometimes, but we aren't getting that boob window back. Number 9, Lady Deathstrike. Do you like your ladies enhanced, murderous, out to kill? Then introducing Lady Deathstrike. She first appeared as Deathstrike in Alpha Flight number 33 back in 1986. Before that, her first appearance just as a character was in Daredevil number 197 back in 1983. Her original name was Yuriko, and she hates Wolverine, and her hatred of him drove her to become Deathstrike. Though this was after she had first tried to take him down. She was enhanced on Mojo World actually. Deathstrike has a dangerous thing going on, but still with plenty of cleavage. She'll kill you, but you'll get a nice view while it happens, and that's what matters. In all seriousness, she's a cool character, and the design is cool. The giant fingers, the samurai inspired garb, it's a look. Some say she's just a female Wolverine, but to them I say how dare you. That's X-23. She's managed to find her way into adaptation, and her vengeance and rage will make her a character remembered for years to come. Number 8. Nocturna. So Nocturna had two origins, one pre-crisis and one post. The pre-crisis is from Batman number 363 back in 1983, and post-crisis is from Robin number 100 in 2002. Both versions dummy thick. One of her aliases is Mistress of the Night. She's a very blink and you'll miss her type of character. I mean, when you come back as a villain for Tim Drake in his solo outing, that's bound to happen. She was actually supposed to be adapted into Batman the Animated Series, the seminal series from the 90s, however she proved too risque. This was because she was going to be a vampire. They approved of the hot model, that's a quote, but the bloodletting and showing blood and showing Batman lusting for blood because he was going to turn to a vampire briefly in the episode, that was too far. It was a kids show, and at the time showing blood was still a taboo. Now they show blood all the time. Still, no matter the era, one of the focuses was always on how hot she was. She was also friends with spoiler Stephanie Brown. That's not saying that is a spoiler, that was her name. She's not really a huge focus, but come on, people want their thirst. Little vampire pun for you.
Number 7. Healing Witch Poison Ivy. In the comic Batman/Demon A Tragedy, Poison Ivy appears as a healer who aims to heal Bruce of his allergy to moonlight. She senses a dark presence within him and gives him an herbal treatment to help weaken the evil entity residing within him. This version of Ivy is like a mix of a naturopath meets a witch, appearing with voluminous and disheveled fiery locks covered in grass and flowers, wearing a small leafy bustier and a grass skirt. I also just love her nails. They're painted red and super pointy. She has big green eyes, a dramatic pouty lip, and a tiny little button nose. Sadly, this alternate version of Ivy is killed by Etrigan, who ends up being revealed as the Bat Demon who has been possessing Bruce.
Number 6. Cheetah. Arguably the most well-known Wonder Woman baddie, Cheetah has something for all the furries out there. I'll take this list places. You want hot? I'll give you all the hot. Kelly is scripting hot men right now. I believe I heard her call Wolverine a tiny knuckle of muscle. Now what you may not know is that there have actually been 4 Cheetahs. We're going to be looking at the 3rd Cheetah, Barbara Ann Minerva. She debuted in Wonder Woman Volume 2 number 7 back in 1987. Before that, Cheetah was just a woman in a costume. Amateurs. Her origin is actually pretty tragic. She was an archaeologist who took part in an ancient ritual as she believed she would gain immortality. It involved a female cheetah guardian. She drank human blood, ingested the berries of the plant god, Cartaga, which I had to pause to say, it's quite the name. But here's the thing, the ritual was supposed to be done with a virgin, and well, she wasn't one. This resulted in her part transforming in a way that was part curse and part blessing. So she was left in pain in her human form and with a crazed bloodlust in her cheetah form. So she was doomed to wander in this way. Obviously, she chooses her cheetah form far more often because she doesn't want to be in pain. My question has always been, where are her nipples? I mean, I know why they're not there, censorship, but it was always weird to me that you don't see the nipples. I mean, on furred animals you can see them. They should be there. Or they should just give her a jumpsuit. Oh look, they gave her a jumpsuit. Also, there is a male cheetah, but this is not hot male villains. No, get out of here, Sebastian.
Number 5. Hela, Goddess of Death. I know we normally call Hela the Goddess of Death. That is one of her titles in the main continuity of Earth 616, but this alternate of her from Earth 94001 is also known as the Goddess of Death. She comes to us from a reality where Loki ends up as the ruler of Asgard, but that's not the only difference in this reality. Hela also sports a different look. As opposed to her full-length bodysuit, she wears a sleeveless bodysuit more akin to a playsuit or like a swimming suit. She also wears a mask that covers her hair and has a dramatic high-necked cape with thorns emerging from the back of it. Also, thigh-high boots, my fave. This version of Hela is also quite curvy and intimidating looking in comparison to Loki. She just looks like a big, powerful, and strong goddess here, and I am loving it. Actually, I love a lot of the ways the women are drawn in this comic.
Number 4. Typhoid Mary. She is genuinely an awful villainess. She first debuted as Typhoid Mary in Daredevil number 254 back in 1988. She's kinda sympathetic, we'll get to it. She started as a Daredevil villain and would expand to become a Spider-Man and Deadpool one as well. She raped Deadpool, never forget, I certainly haven't. She was a former lover of the Daredevil and has some low-level psionic abilities. Typhoid Mary is genuinely unstable, and she was actually created accidentally by the Daredevil when he was trying to take take down a brothel and was stunned when the woman in it attacked him. He accidentally knocked her out of a window, and so she vowed never to let a man hurt her again. In fact, she would hurt them first. Typhoid Mary has ranged and has multiple personalities, with the typhoid one being one of the most aggressive. She also kills domestic abusers, only the men though. Listen, she's genuinely bad, but they always draw her super hot, so hottest. I mean, when I did Scary Aliens, you all didn't want to believe Starfire was scary because she was too hot. Well, Typhoid Mary is hot too. Are you gonna take the risk because she's got a two-faced thing going on? Just so aggressive in this video. I'm really passionate about evil hot women.
Number 3. Jokers. On Earth 9, the Joker persona was actually shared by 3 women: Mary Marvel, Lori Lamaris, and Christy Xanadu, Earth 9's Madame Xanadu. On this Earth, the Jokers were an anachronistic vigilante group operating under one name and identity, the Joker. They were part of a group who tried to take down Superman after he had become the most powerful superhero on Earth and had outlawed all other vigilantes. Unfortunately, Superman caught Mary Marvel and managed to use her mind to discover the other identities of the Joker. All 3 of these ladies are attractive, powerful women, and the fact that their Joker was an anachronistic hero just adds to their appeal. Earth 9 is the alternate universe belonging to the DC imprint Tangent Comics.
Number 2. Nightshade. She first appeared in Captain America number 164 back in 1973, and used to be called Dr. Nightshade and Deadly Nightshade. Discovering as a young girl that she has a knack for science, she decided to use it for evil. She focuses on creating a werewolf army. Yes. And you know what she's got going on? Pheromones. She could use them to control men through science. She forced Captain America to fight Falcon, and also just help her in general, but he resisted real hard. She has also created a serum to turn men into women, and as always, she is on that werewolf army game. Capwolf. She's a mad scientist who loves bikinis and thigh-high boots. She has more of a costume now, but she's still out there manipulating to get what she wants. These old panels, I love them so much. Exploitative? Hell yeah. The confidence to wear that? Envious. She can turn a man into a werewolf and then just head straight to the beach. That's convenience. And number 1, Star Sapphire. I'm talking about Carol Ferris. Again, there have been multiple Star Sapphires, but we need Hal Jordan's waifu for lifeu. Make this the cringiest video of all time. She first appears as Star Sapphire in Green Lantern Volume 2, number 16 back in 1962. At first, she is chosen by the Zamorans, enemies of the Guardians, because they want to prove that men are inferior. Her costume evolved into one of the deepest V-necks of all time, and got even more hilarious when the emotion spectrum started and every pink, or I'm sorry, violet lantern had that costume and they were all ladies. They try to explain this as, oh, anyone can join, but most men are not worthy. Okay, sure Jan. I demand Kyle in this outfit. The world needs it. Officially, not just as fan art. Look it up. It exists. Star Sapphire is a hero now for the most part, but for a while she was a recurring villain and the persona was buried deep within Carol's mind. These costumes, they're a look. Charting their evolution is a trip.
Number 10. Boss Madame Hydra. I mostly wanted to include this alternate version of Madame Hydra because of her cool look in the comics. Though there is something problematic about this version of her, but we'll touch on that later. This version of Madame Hydra is married to MODOK, doesn't like wearing underwear, has a fork-like snake tongue, and wears a dress instead of her standard combat suit. She may have a hotter look, which is why I included her, but she is also kind of problematic. Granted, she is also a villain. As Madame Hydra, she sexually abuses her employees, including the main character from the comic that she appears in, Hank Johnson. Of course, this makes her a pretty terrible person, but she is Madame Hydra, and she is supposed to be a villain in the story even to Hank, who works for Hydra as an agent. So they obviously had to make her story-wise pretty terrible. Anyways, I just wanted to acknowledge that and say that it is her look that got her on the list rather than her treatment of her staff. Number 9. DC Legends Killer Frost. This version of Killer Frost comes to us from the video game DC Legends. She follows a similar origins to her main continuity counterpart, but has a different look. She still wears all black, but instead wears a corseted top and shorts, or a sleeveless romper, if they're connected. She has fur on her arm gauntlets and her boots have a dramatic heel, and she wears garters armed with ice shards. Her earrings also appear to be made of ice. Her legendary form in the game is more of a nod to her comic book appearance, but even this version is fire. Or ice, I guess. This version of Caitlin Snow wears a full-length bodysuit covered in ice spikes with cutouts for her fingers, shoulders, and a small chest cutout. Here her hair appears shorter and is styled upward, causing it to also resemble an ice spike. Number 8. Moonstone. This version of Carla Sofin comes to us from the Earth 7642, the Crossovers. This version of Moonstone was originally a criminal turned government-approved leader of the Thunderbolts. She still has her rivalry with Miss Marvel, but she also has a cool, futuristic-looking costume. Kinda looks like liquid metal, and has a chest cutout that also shows off her cleavage and just the top of Moonstone's abdomen. Abs. Also, shiny things are so sexy. I love some shiny things. Guess I'm like Kaylee and Firefly. Number 7, Heath Ledger. Heath's take on the Joker was not only one of the best cinematic interpretations, but was also one of the hottest. While the brilliant makeup Ledger wore made him look more rough, whose look was created by the makeup artist genius that is John Caglione Jr., the fact remains that under the makeup was Heath Ledger's gorgeous face. But Ledger's reputation as a charming, gorgeous man aside, there was something super sexy about the motives of this version of the Joker, the character itself. Joker saw himself as less of a villain and more of an agent of chaos. And while as human beings we generally prefer for our surroundings to be stable, reliable, and somewhat static, it is for that same reason that the idea of anarchy and chaos often draws us in. There was something beautiful, if not deranged, about the way Ledger and Nolan's Joker perceived the world and his role in it. Number 6, Assassin Were-Catwoman. This version of Catwoman comes to us from a medieval sort of fantasy world. In fact, the same world as the previous Poison Ivy I was just talking about. She is an assassin paid in gold by this world's Killer Croc to take out their reality's Batman. This version of Catwoman wears more armor on her arms than her body, and prefers to run around the city of Gotham with her mane of dark hair loose and flowing, and a very torn up version of her full body latex catsuit. Her armor gauntlets have claws and spikes attached, matching her buckled and spike-covered pointed boots. Her mask also sports realistic and dramatic cat-like ears. In fact, this version of Catwoman also appears to be part werecat possibly, as she can also be seen with her head drawn back, face up as she howls at the moon above. Number 5, White Knight. In the White Knight reality, it ends up being Joker who becomes the hero. After being cured of his insanity, he decides Batman has gone too far, is also deranged, and needs to be stopped. This version of the Joker immediately returns to his Harley to make up for years of abuse and finally be the stand-up guy that she deserved the whole time, only to find out she isn't even really Harley Quinn, but an imposter. His abuse had driven the real Harley Quinn away years ago, but the real Harley does return to him, and together the two try to fix their relationship, transforming it into a healthier one. Harley agrees to help Jack Napier, the former Joker, and Jack resists his darker thoughts, keeping them at bay with medication and Harley's support. There is something both sweet and endearing about seeing this journey where Jack works to get better and actually become a hero of sorts that draws you in. Number 4, HARLEEN. This version of Harley comes to us from the DC Black Label book HARLEEN, with stunning artwork by Stephen Sedgwick. It's easy to see what makes this version of Harley so attractive. The art is a huge part of her appeal here, but this is also a steamy exploration of Harley's origin story, how she went from studying the Joker to falling for him, as she herself was lost to madness. It's like a weird, sexy story about a psychotic break, which is just all very Harley, to be honest. DC Black Label is also meant to be a more mature label for DC, which allows it to push the envelope when it comes to its series subject matter.
Number 3, Giganta. Are you all here for the Vor, the giant lady? Do you like a lot of women that you have to look up to even to see her waist? Well then, here comes Giganta. She first debuted in Wonder Woman Volume 1, number 9 back in 1944, and was created by William Moulton Marston, so you know that there was some level of kink involved. The man liked what he liked and wanted you to know about it. She was an ape who was mutated into a beautiful and giant woman. This was her first origin. Her newer origin is a bit more complicated, but still involved a gorilla and mind transference. Here she eventually transfers herself into a strong woman named Olga, who has size-changing abilities. People are into Giganta. She's been adapted numerous times. I found her through the Justice League Unlimited cartoon.
Number 2, Pamela YSLEY. This version of Pamela comes to us from DC Bombshells. I know we have already talked about an alternate version of this villain, but this one is also so stunning, and I'm such a huge Poison Ivy fan, who isn't, that I had to also include her. Poison Ivy in the DC Bombshells universe was a smuggler working with the alternate version of Catwoman. Eventually, the Nazis took over her home city of Calais in France. Unhappy about then being forced to work for the Nazis instead, she ended up brewing and wearing a potent perfume whose scent scent was so strong that it made the Nazis pass out, allowing her to kill them and get revenge and escape. However, the perfume also turned her skin green, just how she got her classic iconic look in this alternate world. Number 1. DCEU Harley Quinn. Now, I couldn't do a list about hot female supervillains without talking about the brilliant and stunning talent that is Margot Robbie. Robbie portrays Harley Quinn in the DCEU films, and despite Suicide Squad not being as big of a success as the studio had hoped, her performance of Harley still managed to wow audiences. Margot Robbie just seems to really enjoy playing the character, and also seems to have a brilliant understanding of just what craziness makes Harley tick. Whether she's rocking her daddy's little monster shirt and sequin shorts in Suicide Squad, or kicking butt in various jaw-dropping, bright and bold outfits in Harley Quinn Birds of Prey, she is magic to watch on the screen. Nothing like someone as badass as Margot Robbie playing someone as badass as Harley Quinn. It's just a match made in hotness heaven.